Hey guys, it's Village Kev Talks, and today I want to talk about the downlow. Men who are on the downlow. So, meaning men who lead these straight lives, or they at least try to convince people that they're straight, but behind closed doors, it's a totally different situation. The reason I wanted to make this video is that something just happened last night that has never happened to me in this sort of magnitude relating to the downlow. And I wanted to share this story because I thought it was kind of mind-blowing. I don't think straight people know just how pervasive it is in the gay world. So right now I'm in Miami on vacation. This is my penthouse right here. Just kidding, I'm actually at a hotel in South Beach. I went out with a friend last night and we went to a hookah lounge. So at this hookah lounge, my friend knew the owner. And the owner was hanging out with this couple, I would say in their mid to late 30s, attractive couple from Europe. And they have their kids with them there, who are like about 5 years old. And the kids at this point, it's late at night, on a weeknight, they're in Miami, the kids are asleep basically at the hookah lounge, like right next to the parents. So eventually we kind of merge groups because my friend is socializing with the owner and the owner is socializing with that couple. So we merge groups and the couple's really friendly. Then they start buying us drinks, even though we were planning on leaving. Not an uncommon thing, right? Like, it's not unusual that you go out when you're young and you meet people who are older and more established and they want to feel that like youthfulness of being in your 20s and like going out or whatever. The original thing was like he kept fist bumping, whatever it's called. He just kept going like this, like in a very bro-y way, like every time he would make a joke to me and to my friend. And then, or sometimes he'd like shake our hand after making a joke or whatever, I don't know. But I started noticing that he would shake my hand longer than my friend's hand, and he would hold it almost like tenderly. Again, I'm like, he's European, it might just be, that's how he is. But then other things kept happening. So first he does that, then at one point he made a joke about something and he took my hand and he shook it again, and then he went in for a kiss. So again, this is in front of his wife and kids. The owner is there as well, my friend is there. Again, isolated incident, not a huge deal, but like kind of peculiar, I think, for a straight man to do that. At one point, he asked me how I knew my friend. There's an innocent way to ask things, right? Like, if it's just a spontaneous question like, so how do you guys know each other? Like, that wouldn't strike me as bizarre. But the way he said it, it was kind of like he said, how do you guys know each other? Like, how long have you known each other? I don't even know if that was like a great impression, but sometimes you just feel what somebody's motive is, and it felt like he was really trying to say, so you guys have a thing going. And it felt like he wanted to know for his own purposes. Later, again, he did the fist bumping thing, and at this point, I'm drunk too, and they keep buying us drinks. There's a song that I like playing, and I go with the beat. So instead of just going once like this, I kind of hit it a few times, and then I missed, and because I'm drunk again, and then I just went like this a few times. And in my head, in that moment, I had a lewd thought. I don't know why, but just doing this with another man, sexually, like in my mind, I sexualized it as a sword fight, which I'm not going to explain what that is here, but if you want to Google it, if you're not sure what it means, go for it, Urban Dictionary, whatever you want. But that was my first thought, and I feel like a regular straight guy who has there's no chemistry or no interest would just be like, not fazed by it. But he said something that was so peculiar to me. He said, oh, my wife, who's Russian, wouldn't have time for that, or wouldn't have tolerance for that. Something that just was really weird, and that had I not had that like sexual thought, would have made no sense to me. But because I had that thought, to me it felt like he thought of the exact same thing when I went like this, and that he was trying to say that his wife wouldn't be accepting of it. I just want to clarify that I was sending him zero signals. I am not interested in him. I was there with my friend. The fact that this grown man who's hanging out with us is right there with his kids and his wife. I have no interest in going to bed with him. After several rounds of drinks, and by the way, at this point I stopped drinking. They were trying to like peer pressure me into drinking, which I thought was strange and juvenile. So I stopped drinking, but they keep going. And then finally we leave, it's time to go. And the guy gives us a hug. He gives my friend a hug, then he gives me a hug. And I noticed again that the way he was interacting with me was very different from the way he was interacting with my friend. So with my friend, it was like kind of, you know, a bro hug or whatever, like a pat on the back. With me, it was a really long hug, like a strangely long hug. Again, his wife and kids are right there the entire time. The kids are asleep, but he's in the presence of his family. And I thought, again, kind of strange. It would be one thing if we really bonded closely, or like if I had told him a tragic story in my childhood or something, but there was no reason for him to be more intimate with me. And then I don't remember what he did exactly. He might have like ruffled my hair or something after the hug. I was like, maybe it's on my head, maybe I'm overthinking it. I kid you not, we leave, and the first thing that my friend says to me before I even say anything about this man who we hung out with, this married family man, my friend goes, I can't believe that just happened. Like, that guy was blatantly hitting on you the entire night. And I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. This really just happened. When we drive back in my friend's car, we kind of are like recounting all these things that happen, all these like signs. So he also noticed the kissing of the hand. He also noticed that when this guy would shake my hand or like fist bump or whatever, there was just like more tenderness. It was like weirdly intimate. Also just the fact that he didn't interact with him in that way. That was the biggest like solidifier that this was unusual. Then what's fascinating is that my friend who speaks Spanish, and they obviously spoke Spanish, he told me that a lot of things for me got lost in translation, like that I wasn't picking up on a lot of cues in their native tongue. For example, because remember I said I stopped drinking, apparently this guy used the word that means pussy, like calling somebody a pussy as an insult, and that word in Spanish can also mean faggot, and he used that word to describe me. But my friend noticed that and thought, because of everything, he had no doubt that this man was using it to mean like, this guy's a faggot, and waiting for my friend's reaction to see if he would feed into this assumption. My friend and I left convinced, like, holy shit, this guy is like not only on the down low, but like his wife is straight up his like beard, and this is, I felt shocked, but also like so disturbed that it's one thing to be on the down low. It's an entirely different thing to act that way with your wife and kids right there. I just kept thinking about his wife and what her life is like. And I kept thinking, like, is this what he does? Like, does he go on these trips and then he has this other life? Like, she could be totally clueless, and yet she seemed very astute. And I feel like women in those situations, probably more so than not, are aware but don't want to admit it. So it's sort of like a subconscious thing. This grown man who's attractive, by the way. Attractive, charming, successful, apparently intelligent, well-spoken, spoke multiple languages. The fact that he has to like hide who he is and live this other life, that was so sad to me. And the fact that he had to give these like little cues, but yet also I was just kind of like disgusted because of the wife and kids, and they were right there. And I'm looking at these babies who are like 4 or 5 years old, and they're so innocent that I'm just like, how can you live with yourself to do that? This story aside, the whole down low thing for me is so fascinating too, because I recently had an epiphany. Every guy who I've had a chemistry with and who treated me really well and was like normal, kind, generous, all those things, well-mannered, has always been on the down low. I'm pretty sure every single one has been like that. And they're the only guys who are still, gay guys who are still consistently a part of my life, out of the ones who I've had like a connection with that was beyond a platonic thing, where there was a mutual interest. And I think it's because these men aren't out in the open, right? So their exposure to gay men is limited. So meeting somebody like me who's nice, also normal, all those things is like a huge luxury for them that they don't have otherwise, right? Because otherwise they're limited to hookups, and hookups are very superficial. Obviously I'm critical, and obviously I have the same judgments as other people, that it's like frustrating that these men can't just like own up to who they are and live their lives. And for me, I'm always sensitive about it too, because I've had some of those men want to date me, and that offended me, because it was like I felt like they were trying to pull me back into the closet where they reside, and I feel like that's very selfish and it's very unfair. But again, these men have consistently treated me better, not only on a romantic level, like if we did go on a date or if we did just go to the bedroom or whatever, but even just on a platonic level, they were always just more gentle, like just sweeter, more genuine, less superficial. So it's this weird thing for me, because I am connected to some of these men, and some of them I love as friends, but yet I'm disturbed just like anybody else is, that these men sometimes manipulate women, and that they hide things from their families. And for them, they're thinking like they're protecting themselves, they're thinking that they're maybe protecting their family from being hurt because of their faith or whatever. But you know, I have a very, very guilty conscience, so maybe this is just me, but I would feel so guilty, like having one lie lead to another lie, lead to another lie, and suddenly everything is like a minefield, right? Because any sort of, if you step on the wrong one, they all explode. I'm curious what you guys think about this and what your experiences are with it. Let me know what you think in the comments. All right, bye-bye.